You're listening to All Country News.
Okay, so the overwhelming question when we asked people, what questions do you want to know from Connor? What are you excited most about the album? Nobody wanted to know about the album. Everybody wanted to know if you were singing at your wedding.
Okay. The answer is no, and I think I morally am against it. Um, I'll respect people that do. The last thing I want to do is sing,
Yeah.
It's like that's my wedding. I'm gonna enjoy it with her and with my family and friends, and I'll have plenty of country artists there who can take the mic.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the drinks do, but there's no plan to do it at least.
I love it. Well, let's chat the album. Super excited. You know what I mean? For me as a country fan, my whole entire life, I haven't heard an album so sonically diverse in a very, very long time.
Wow, thank
So,
you.
I know that you previously, I think maybe you were talking with Ward, there on Apple Music, but you said that it truly took like 23 years to get to this point to make this album. So what was that moment that you decided, it was time to write down these stories and record this record?
Yeah, that's a really sweet compliment. Similar to you, I'm sure. I love country music, right? Like I come from the seat with a just deep respect and love for the history of country music, for country artists, and for this genre, for this town of Nashville. And so I've listened to so many albums. I've listened to so many debut albums as a kid who wanted just to be a songwriter for his whole life. Like I've studied those things. And so as as things started to kind of become clear for me that it was time to really prepare an album, which took longer than I probably expected or wanted, but I do think it was in the perfect timing now. I'm so thankful that I didn't have an album last year. I have no idea what that would have sounded like, and I don't think I'd be as proud of it as I am this one. Um, because some things just take time. And so I think as this record was beginning to unfold, I was beginning to imagine what my debut album sounds like. For one, I realized it was so much harder than I expected as I reviewed everyone else's album. And then two, I had a few goals, which was I wanted this album to say something. I wanted this album to have a level of depth to it, to where it wasn't just I wrote 100 songs, 10 people picked the 12 least hated songs, and we threw them into a project. And so I really tried to have a cohesiveness to this record, that had, for one, all the sides of me as an artist and as a songwriter. There's, like you said, there's a lot of diversity on this record. Between Baby I to Smoky Mountains to Regret in the Morning to Heating Up, like there's all these different kind of tastes of what I love and what I write. And then I also wanted it to, kind of have a storyline and not so much a concept record, but in terms of, the last 3 years have grown up so much so fast, kind of thrown in this pressure cooker, this fire of learning who I am as a person, as a songwriter, as an artist, as a man, inside of this industry that is holds a lot of pressure and a lot of self-reflection, I guess, at every turn. And so I wanted to take fans on that journey from I Hate Alabama and those songs of early on to, what we come to with Roulette on the Heart and then in the end, God Moments.
Yeah, I love that. So I love that besides I Hate Alabama, you had a hand in all of these songs. How did writing for this project challenge you?
Yeah, so I've kind of said it before. Being a songwriter is like being a gold miner, and you just show up every day, right? And you just chisel to the rock, and 99% of the time you're landing on rock, but you live and you breathe and you wake up every morning for that one day when you're going to hit gold. And so the songwriter, I think some artists like you find and all the praise to them, but their first song they write is exactly their sound. It's exactly what people want to hear, and it's perfect. And I love it. For me, I don't think it has necessarily been that. I think I've written songs when I was 6 years old, and written every single day and signed a publishing deal 7 years ago and wrote every day professionally for the last 7 years. And it just took me time to figure out, hey, what's unique, what's different, what's fresh, and also relatable. And so I felt like when we wrote Creek Will Rise, it was a turning point because once we wrote that song, it felt different than anything we had done. It felt fresh. It felt like my own thing that no one else was doing. It felt like it captured the live energy. It felt like it still told a story. It like had all these pieces that I wanted to kind of find. And so from there, it was like I knew the recipe a little bit. You know, it's like when you go in the kitchen and you at least know the certain things to kind of shoot for. And so once I found the recipe, everything was so much easier. It was like I wrote 300 songs just to throw it away. And then once I wrote Creek, it was like every song after there mattered a little bit more.
No, I love that. But I have to brag. I mean, I love that I've gotten to listen to the album and like really digest it.
Yeah.
And I love that you're putting out 12 songs because that's like my attention span these days. And I can like fully digest them. But I kept on going back to one song, and I think it's Roulette on the Heart. I mean,
Mhm.
it touches on themes of like love and loss and heartbreak, but you are so creative. Plus, Haley Witters is on this song,
Very
and
good.
I'm
Yeah.
like, blown away. So was there always kind of a chat of you having a feature on this album or having kind of more of a female part in this song as well? Or did that just kind of happen naturally?
It happened naturally. It wasn't like we wrote that song with that intention. I had the idea. I loved the play of like the kind of relatableness of like a lot of times love is like a game, you know, and you kind of step into a relationship and give your heart to someone knowing it's either is going to wreck me or is going to be the greatest thing for the future of my life, right? And then you know there's certain times where you know you give your heart to someone you know's probably not a good idea, but you do it anyways. And so I had that idea. I didn't know where we would take it that day in the room with Chase McGill and Jesse Alexander and Mark Trussell. And I give a ton of credit on this song to those guys for really channeling some of like the energy that was brought out of this song. I think you listen to that song. I'm really proud of it as a songwriter. I listen to the record and not to put pressure on the song, but if there's a song I'd put my money on, pardon the pun, it'd be Roulette on the Heart. But the thing about that song I love is every line says something. Like every line has its own little twist and own little hook inside of it that points towards the hook. It's such a relatable emotion. And so that song felt a step above, right when we heard it. And then the kind of idea was there's such a tension to the song already, but if you had a female vocalist on it, kind of add to the tension. And Haley was the first thought when we kind of had that idea, just in terms of her and I at similar levels of our career. I love her. I love her artistry. I love her music. I love her like her look and her brand. I just love everything about what she's doing, you know. And we played a bunch of radio shows together, and we're on tour with Luke Bryan together. And so I asked her, and she immediately said yes. And it took us a while. You'd be surprised how many versions we had to go through to finally find the right one on this song, because I really was going to fight for this one. I wasn't going to let it be just okay, but I wanted it to be great. And so I'm really proud of that song in every way, and I'm very, very thankful that Haley said yes to being a part of it.
I mean, I love all 12 tracks, but for me, that was the song that I was like, oh, like this is
Thank you.
different. And I think it's, you know what I mean? The sonics of it. And I think the reason I love this record so much is because each song is sonically different, but
Mhm.
they're all Connor Smith. They all
Mhm.
make sense for you. They all speak to who you are as an artist. So why was it so important for you to kind of show a little bit of variety in sonics while still kind of sticking true to who you are as an artist?
Thank you for saying that. And that's part of why it's 12 songs, right? Like I wasn't gonna bite off more than I can chew. You know, that's a hard task to accomplish. And so with the 12 songs, I wanted every song to matter. And I didn't like you can't really, I mean, the only two I guess would be Heating Up and Creep Will Rise. I think you can draw some comparisons there, but it's hard to kind of compare two songs. And so I wanted that. I wanted every song to kind of have its own role. Um, And I think I started 3 years ago. We've been able to put out music, but since my EP, we've put out three, maybe four songs, which is a long time in 2 years of building a career. And so this was like the first real like task I had to like fully let fans in a way that I haven't been able to, and has honestly been creatively uh, frustrating for me as an artist who's always consumed by writing and the fans and live show and how to build it. But once again, it goes back to the patience and letting it kind of take time. So I think in the way of just like we were patient with this record. I mean, I've had fans DMing me every day for an album for 2 years. And so the fact that we just allowed the process to take place, we didn't rush anything. And I allowed myself to make sure that when it was time, it was going to be great. I think that was a big contributor to kind of the pride I have in this record.
I love it, and I love you can tell that you took time. You can tell that, like, you thought about this, and if it wasn't right, you went back. I mean, I've been
Mhm.
consuming country music for 30 years. Like, I can tell when an artist
Yeah.
is that's right. But when I was listening through it, I'm like, meanwhile in Carolina, it's the heart of the album. I love it. And then I was doing some research to talking with you, and you also said it was the heart of the album on one of your Instagram posts.
Well,
So
you
this is strange.
Well, you said it. You just said it there, and I was like, "Well, I'm sure she's gotten the press notes because that's what I've said from the start."
Yeah,
That's why we put it as track six. It's the middle. It's the heart of the record. It kind of draws the two sides of it together a little bit, and even Smoky Mountains. We Part of the reason of calling it Smoky Mountains is because Smoky Mountains connects Tennessee and North Carolina, and so that song "Meanwhile in Carolina," it just kind of draws it all together. And so even in that, you can see how many little details I thought through, and like just gave my life to on making sure this record was. I squeezed everything out of it.
I love it. So my favorite question to ask people, especially when they do, you know what I mean, like your traditional 12, I'm sure all of these are your babies and you were very methodical about, this song needs to go here, but I always love to know about the bookends. Like,
Mm.
why did you start with Smoky Mountains and why did you end with God Moments?
Yeah, I mean that's a very clear decisions there because Smoky Mountains was that song became more of a song than I had imagined when I wrote it. I was in an elevator in Cleveland, Ohio, or Columbus, Ohio. We were opening up like a pre-party to the George Strait, Chris Stapleton show, and and I was just in the elevator, and I was thinking about the album. I was thinking about the storyline that was going through it, and I started to sing just that chorus, like "Sing me a song of the Smoky Mountains." So I wrote that chorus in that elevator, recorded it in my phone, and then began to just kind of spitball the verse. So lyrically, I wrote that song, and then brought it in with my producer, and we kind of built the track around it. And so I wrote it as an intro track because one thing I love about records is there's some songs. Not every song has to be the biggest hit, Not every song has to be a radio single. But there's some songs that should go on a record to like enhance the other songs. And so I really wrote Smoky Mountains as that. And so as the intro track, it kind of set the tone for where I was gonna take the story. The whole song's about the tension of traveling and chasing down a dream, but also longing for home and rest and the people you love. And so Smoky Mountains symbolized home, Tennessee, all those things. And then God Moments, as we were kind of finishing out this record. It's funny too, side note, one thing I found in my writing is that I write the best when I'm on writing retreats. So like I'll go somewhere for a week, camp out, stay there for the night, and then I have writers in 2 rooms a day. We write all night, all day, and I get 20 songs, 12 songs ish, and then like two or three will come out. So if I look down at the record, the songs that came from writer retreats were Heating Up, Roulette on the Heart, Baby I, God Moments, and Trouble. Um, and so like half of these songs came from kind of that environment. So we were near the end of the record, kind of had most of the record at hand. And then I was like, how do I close out this chapter? How do I kind of encompass everything I was trying to say and put a period at the end of the sentence? And I knew it needed a life song. It needed a song that just kind of wasn't about a girl or about heartbreak or love. But it just was a song about life. And so that was kind of the inspiration behind God Moments. And just the reality that the one thing I learned in the last 3 years is that all of it's out of my control. And some things are just left up to the Lord.
I love it. I love that. I think my favorite part of you promoting this album isn't from your Instagram page, but your mother's podcast's
Yeah, I'm
Instagram
sure.
page.
I'm sure.
I'm obsessed with your mother. I had the chance to like meet her in passing at CMA Fest, and I'm
Amazing.
obsessed with her. But she posted this very, very sweet picture of you when you were itty bitty with a guitar. If you could give that little guy any advice about where you are now, what would that be?
That picture symbolizes a lot. That was the day I got my first guitar, which is the second verse of God Moments. My dad bought it at a pawn shop. It was my fourth birthday. And my mom tells the story. I was a pretty shy kid and would kind of cling to her leg in most environments. And then at my birthday party, we were in Cleveland, Tennessee, and I got this guitar. And that when I held that guitar for the first time, something in the world shifted, and I started screaming "Big Star" by Kenny Chesney at this birthday party. And that's what that picture is. It's me singing "Big Star" the moment I held a guitar for the first time, which is incredible. And so yeah, there's something that just happened. It's just a God moment, right? Where I was given this guitar, even back in like kindergarten, my report cards would say, Connor makes up songs in his head all day. Like there was something in me that just was kind of born to do this, I do believe, and just tell stories and be a songwriter. Um, and uh, and so thinking back to that kid at 4, that kid at 6 writing his first song, or the kid at 9 who signed a BMI, or the kid at 16 who got a publishing deal, or to the kid at 18 who signed a record deal. Um, Honestly, I just play in God moments, and just go, hey, man, it's going to work out. It's not going to be the plan or the path or the timeline you're expecting, but it's going to be the one you need. And beyond everything, you're going to be proud of how you do it, I think is hopefully the goal.
Yeah. Well, I love the album. I'm selfishly in love that I get to listen to it like the rest of the week. Why the
I
rest of
love
the
you, dude, too. I love you, dude, too,
has
because
to
you were so
wait.
kind about it.
So, well, thank you so much. And I really do mean that. I mean, I'm such a snob when it comes to country music, and the way that you crafted this, I was totally blown away. So we're super excited for you. We're super excited to see you on Friday. Our team's going to be there for
Let's
your
go.
show. So we're excited for you. This is
Oh,
wonderful. I remember I saw you for the first time live. You opened up for Ryan Hurd in Chicago, and I was like,
no
gonna
way.
happen here. Something's gonna happen here. And now here we are. So
That was one of the first weekends ever,
really,
first shows ever. Yeah, that was come a long way since then.
I love
Um,
it.
but that's amazing. You'll have to track my mom down at the show and say hey to
Yes.
her, because
Oh my
when
God.
someone comes up to her and says they love the podcast, she'll talk about it for 2 weeks.
Okay,
So please
perfect.
do.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. We're super excited for you, and we will see you Friday.
Thanks, Bobby.
You're listening to